To begin, a rabbit jumps behind the moon. What is it that the black rabbit sees on the horizon with its big red eye? A morning glory lives in an ivory tower, and every night dreams of being a kaleidoscope. A late director creates a masterpiece, only to be met with confused eyes from degraded minds. And then... Alright, let's be clear. If you're looking for a show to make immediate sense, one with a proper story with no underlying subcontext, if you're looking for a show to be relatively straightforward, then you might want to stop this video and walk away, because you may not like Paranoia Agent. If you're a person who liked Serial Experiments Lane, was not bored by Technolize, understood the plot of Ergo Proxy before the ending came about, and actively to this day discussed the final episodes of Evangelion, then you're gonna love the shit out of this show. Paranoia Agent was directed by the late Satoshi Kon and put together almost exclusively by Studio Madhouse, which is a pretty mind-blowing thing all in itself, considering the awesome reputations of both these parties. For those unaware, Satoshi Kon is responsible for the acclaimed works Perfect Blue, Paprika, and my personal favorite, Tokyo Godfathers. Madhouse is an animation production studio that has produced way more than I care to mention right now, but some of the highlights include Trigun, Chobits, Black Lagoon, and Beck. So that should give you a good start in figuring out how good this show may or may not be. But as I said earlier, Paranoia Agent's plot is not straightforward. Like, at all. Even after watching it, you might think that you know what the plot was about, but then again, you might not. You might think that this story is about a delinquent kid named Little Slugger that likes to go around and whack people on the head with a crooked baseball bat. You may think that Paranoia Agent is about a holy warrior who is out to defeat the evil demon Goma, who has possessed the innocent lives of the peasant folk. Or maybe it's about a young animator who just successfully created a very popular character now in the media, and who's not really all there. Paranoia Agent is all of these things, and because it is all these things in a very short 13-episode series, it makes me want to call Satoshi Kon a friggin' genius. Hey Satoshi! You're a genius! Just saying. Yeah. If you want to get really analytical, what I believe Paranoia Agent to be about is how a psychological episode created by one person is rapidly spread and built upon by the mass media as a sort of messiah or Jesus figure that can act as a quick fix for anyone's problems related to their stress-filled lives or the culture of the world that they live in. Yeah, a little complicated, but it's okay. You'll be fine. In the world of Paranoia Agent, a young boy appears with a crooked baseball bat on rollerblades and begins to ruthlessly beat upon unsuspecting people who are all emotionally cornered from their stress-filled lives. How does he know that these people are emotionally cornered? Well, we don't know. Magic, perhaps. But this boy does it regardless, and he gets the nickname Little Slugger for his troubles, and becomes the aforementioned Messiah. If you are emotionally cornered, Little Slugger will come and make your troubles go away, because when you are attacked by Little Slugger, you don't die. He doesn't kill you. Sure, you end up in a hospital with a bandage over your head, but you feel better. The stress does not bother you anymore. Little Slugger has saved you. Or so you would believe.
But you seem to be doing well. You look more at ease than before.
It's because I've been cleared.
What?
I'm not the suspect anymore. Because now I'm a victim too. Little Slugger set me free.
The real fact of the matter is that there is no quick and easy solution to any of your problems. To believe otherwise is only deluding yourself from seeing the truth, and it's the realization of this truth that's the only way to set you free, not a whack on the head from some middle school delinquent with rollerblades. One of the narrative strengths in this show is how perfectly created the depiction of mass media and its effect on our daily lives is. Granted, this was before the age of Twitter and social media, so it's not on a global scale as a show nowadays would be, but the general result remains the same. Things get blown way out of proportion, and a single rumor can spark into something much larger and more disturbing than what it originally was. Another major strength is the diverse cast from episode to episode. As a new story begins, we get introduced to a new character or set of characters with a particular problem that leads to a sort of mental breakdown only to be finally quote-unquote saved by an attack from Little Slugger. And these characters are so incredibly varied and extremely diverse, from a kid suffering due to his loss of popularity to a woman suffering from an extreme case of multiple personality disorder. You've got everything here, and it's amazing.
Must not run away. Must not turn your back on him. He comes for people who've been driven into a corner and have nowhere to go. Must not talk about him. Must not think about him. Rumors help him grow. Imagination. Paranoia nurtures him.
Now, going back to something I said earlier, which was that if you loved shows such as Serial Experiments Lain, that you would love Paranoia Agent. And I stand by that, but it does not necessarily mean that the opposite is also true. If you dislike Lain, it does not immediately guarantee that you are going to also dislike Paranoia Agent because you think it may be too convoluted. And actually, compared to Serial Experiments Lain, Paranoia Agent is much easier to understand. But the problem, if you want to call it that, is that since the story is told each episode from the perspective of that episode's lead character, things become disjointed if you attempt to put everything from all the episodes together. Everything that you see is from the direct perspective of the characters, and these characters suffer from massive amounts of stress or other psychological ailments that warps their own views on the world. And so, what we see is that warped world, and not necessarily the truth that exists. So if you keep that in the back of your mind, you should have a much easier time deciphering the fantastical world that's displayed before you. And even if that's still confusing, in the final episode, Liam O'Brien will descend from the heavens and give you as straightforward an answer as you're going to get regarding exactly what is going on. And that's a wonderful segue into talking about the dub. Strictly speaking, as with all my recommendations on a good dub, this gives me no reason to go out of my way to rewatch the show in Japanese. Sure, there are minor changes that will annoy sub-perfectionists, like how Little Slugger should be referred to as Shonen Bat, as he is in Japanese, but largely they are minor quibbles that don't do much to diminish an overall superb dub. The highlights would be the aforementioned performance by Liam O'Brien, who was actually the second actor to step into the shoes of the young detective Maniwa, as he replaces William Markham after episode 4. You also have Carrie Savage as the both cute and extremely creepy dog doll Muromi.
You don't have to suffer alone anymore.
Don't listen to him! Tsukiko?
Plus, you have William Frederick as the token old man that he usually plays. And really, that's because he can do it very well.
Are you sure that you're all right?
Little bird. A frog crashed, bang.
Grandpa,
And this is the
no,
snapper.
you can't draw on this. I'll give you some big-size paper later. So, Grandpa, what is it?
A little butterfly.
From an animation standpoint, Madhouse does not screw around when dealing with a con show. As far as the actual designs and animations go, they stand up well, even to things released now almost 10 years later, and considering the psychologically warped views of our characters, you really do have to applaud the animators for being able to translate those thoughts into moving images, however many forms they have to take. And on the whole, Paranoia Agent is an example of Madhouse at their best. Speaking of overall thoughts, it's about time I got around to making mine. The general thought I have is that, at the minimum, if you have been able to enjoy other Satoshi Kon works, Perfect Blue more specifically, then you should have no problem with the disjointed nature that Kon presents in Paranoia Agent. Don't let my references to Chiaki Kanada's work frighten you off, because this is not as convoluted as those are. Just walk into it with an open mind, preferably when you're not tired or otherwise unable to think properly, because Paranoia Agent is not going to spoon-feed you either. If I had to add negative points, which I kind of do since that's part of the whole final verdict template I got going on here, I would have to mention that there are some episodes near the middle of the show that do not seem to have the plot move forward in any meaningful way. I wouldn't call them filler, as there are several points in them that could be considered somewhat meaningful, but if they were dropped from the show, you wouldn't miss much. Overall, if you're looking for something different to watch, then Paranoia Agent should be the first on your list, as it is definitely that. There's not much I can relate this show to as far as expanded watching of other shows, because as disjointed as Paranoia Agent is, it's not bad enough to directly recommend Serial Experiments Lain. Maybe Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, try that. And until next time, I leave you. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.